I'm Vincent Chandler.
I'm Dean Moore.
I'm Sean Dobbins.
I'm Josef Deas. Together we are Urban Transport, and you're listening to Detroit Jazz Stage.
Hipsters, flipsters, and finger-popping daddies. Knock me on the nose.
Welcome to the February edition of Detroit Jazz Stage. I'm Dean Sahetsky, and with me, as always, is my friend and co-host Rodney Reeves. How you doing today, Rodney?
Great, Dean. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Good.
I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our sound engineer, Mark Barley. Mark has been a tremendous help in creating the great sound quality you've all been enjoying. If any of our listeners are interested in learning about Mark, go to markbarley.com. This month, we're featuring Urban Transport, who Rodney will be talking about shortly. First, though, I want to again thank our audience for your continued subscriptions to our show. I'd also like to welcome our new listeners and hope you enjoy the shows and stay subscribed. Remember, questions or comments can be left at jazzstage.us or emailed to jazzstage@gmail.com. I also want to mention a local Detroit sponsor of our show. The Bagel Factory Cafe, located at 5389 Crooks Road near the I-75 Crooks exit in Troy, Michigan, is where local Detroiters and those visiting from out of town can experience a wonderful assortment of bagel and cream cheese varieties. They can also choose from their many delicious bagel sandwiches made fresh on the spot while you wait. Owner Lori Anderson's store is a comfortable environment where patrons can sit back and relax with a newspaper or cruise the net through the store's wireless network while enjoying their meal. For the month of February, mention Detroit Jazz Stage and get a free 16-ounce cup of coffee with the purchase of any bagel and cream cheese combination. We certainly want to thank Lori and the folks at the Bagel Factory Cafe for their support. Go to bagelfactorycafe.com for more information. We'd also like to thank Maureen Kearns of Roaring Mouse Photography for supplying the photos used for this month's feature. Drawn to naturally occurring elements of color, texture, and form, Maureen's compositions instinctively identify the influence of dramatic light on her subjects. Maureen is a fantastic photographer and is available to shoot your next party, event, or performance. Maureen is also involved with Inside Detroit. Inside Detroit is a service that takes visitors on outings, showing them Detroit's rich nightlife and discussing the history and architecture along the way. Information on how to contact Maureen can be found at roaringmouse.net or insidedetroit.org. We've also switched gears on our survey. We're now using Kiptronic.
And we were using another service before. I think it was
Podtrac.
Podtrac, yeah.
Podtrac survey, and they're a good service. But the problem was that it didn't integrate easily with our syndication portal, Liberated Syndication, whereas
Sure.
Kiptronic and Liberated Syndication have partnered together, and they've integrated some of their features together that make it simpler for us to gather statistics
Sure.
and actually do stuff like tag sponsors and other promo information at the front end and back end of our shows if we so choose. So what that means is that we would request that our listeners, again, if you have already taken the survey, to please take it again. We know it's an inconvenience, but it'll help us in the long run in helping us determine potential sponsors. It will help the sponsors and what kind of sponsorship would best fit our needs.
Right. Well, it will help us grow, too, and we've grown in ways that we never thought possible so far, and things keep on moving for us, but knowing this information will help. And the other thing, if you did fill out the other survey, this survey is much, much, much shorter, a lot easier to fill out. You can do it in the time it takes most web pages to load up.
Yeah, and again, it's anonymous, so no
Right.
personal information and no commitments. So go to JazzStage.us, find the link, and fill out the survey again. And on some other news, we have Detroit Jazz Stage merchandise.
Yeah, doesn't it look good?
Yeah, it is really cool, man. That cafe press is very cool.
You got your shirt?
Oh yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get them.
Oh yeah. Well, it's really simple. A cafe press. You go in, set up the account. You take your logo, fit it to the size that you need, and then put it on select the merchandise you want it to go on, and put it out there.
Right.
It's good. You can purchase a variety of items, each one emblazoned with the Detroit Jazz Stage logo.
That reminds me, Dean. Do you remember that one of our early fans, listeners, I should say, that Trent in Atlanta? He sent us that wonderful picture of his little baby and with the Christmas for Jazz Lovers CD. I think
Songs
it
for
was.
Jazz Lovers, yes.
That was great.
Yeah, and you know what? We have baby gear there too, Trent. So go to jazzstage.us, click on the T-shirt, and purchase some merchandise. It's affordable, looks good, quality is guaranteed, and if you're not satisfied with it, feel free to return it for a full refund.
Just take it off the child first, please. Don't mail the child in with it.
It's very funny.
We mentioned earlier about a lot of changes going on for the podcast. Some of them we can't really talk about yet, even though we're incredibly excited about it. But one thing we can talk about. Would you like to tell the people, Dean?
Yeah, we've formed the record label JazzStage Records.
All right. Good.
We found that podcasting is a great promotional tool, and it's actually been responsible for an increased sales of our guest CDs.
Right. And really what we're trying to do here, we don't have any hopes of getting rich or anything, but we want to get a place for these artists to get their product out to people. Some of these artists that we plan on featuring in the future, they don't really have a stage, let's say, a record label, right?
No, they don't. In today's technology, yeah, they certainly could with CD Baby and whatnot. But you know, we would hope to take some of that responsibility and let the artists just go ahead and create. So what we hope to do is get some local talent signed, recorded, and made available to the world.
Right. And when we do, we will certainly let you know. But in the meanwhile, you can always check jazzstage.us for the link to that site. And we expect to actually have some pretty incredible news on signing some groups coming up soon. We're going to keep it small for a while. But when we do, we'll let you know.
Right. Information, like Rodney said, can be found at jazzstage.us, as well as all the links that we mentioned can be found at jazzstage.us. Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us about these guys, Rodney?
Sure. Yes, we're very pleased to present to you our February feature, Urban Transport. They are a young quintet consisting of trombone, alto sax, drums, bass, and piano. Their name is reflective of their philosophy of constant change. Individually, the members have performed with Joe Henderson, the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, with David Liebman, with the Mingus Big Band, Benny Golson, and Frank Morgan. Since forming 4 years ago, they have built a reputation of the group to hear, having received accolades in local magazines, newspapers, and radio for their music. Their first album, called Introducing Urban Transport, has appeared on all of the best of lists. Final touches are now being completed on a new recording produced by our recording engineer, Mark Byerly. It was recorded at Ann Arbor's Carytown Concert House and was recorded live over 2 evenings. 2 songs from the upcoming recording will be heard here for the first time ever. The group was the same as the Introducing album, with pianist Scott Gwinnell replacing Dave Cook. Musically, their many influences include hard bop, modal, Latin, funk, and more. They perform regularly at all the jazz venues, including a regular Saturday hit at Bert's Marketplace in Detroit's Eastern Market. It was there that we met up with them. Before we get to the interview, listen to Detroit is Live off their Introducing Urban Transport album.
Well, my name is Dean Sutsky, and I'm here with my co-host Rodney Reeves, and we are at Bert's Marketplace in Eastern Market in Detroit, Michigan. And with us we have Urban Transport. The members of Urban Transport are Vince Chandler, trombone, Dean Moore, alto saxophone, Josef Deas, bass and fiddle, and Sean Dobbins on drums. And guys, we are absolutely pleased to have you here with us.
Thank you.
We just got finished listening to your last set, and we're absolutely floored. You know, and we absolutely consider it an honor to have you guys on our show. And we know that once people start downloading it, they're going to get the word out and start letting other people know that, wow, we got to listen to this stuff.
Yes,
Dean and I both think that listening to you guys, it gives me an idea of what it might have been like to be in the mid-40s at Mitten's Playhouse hearing Charlie Parker and the gang for the first time, or maybe being at one of the loft sessions in New York, or maybe hearing Coltrane do his modal thing, for the first time. What you guys are doing is very exciting, very progressive, and I think the word is going to get out. People are going to be really excited about what you're doing, and I'm so glad that through Detroit JazzStage we have the opportunity to get your music out to the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Some of the first things I guess we like to do is have each one of you introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about yourselves. We'll start with you, Vince. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Vincent Chandler, trombone player, born and raised in Detroit. Highly influenced by actually saxophone players more so than trombonists. My favorites are John Coltrane and Joe Henderson.
Right.
Just to name a couple.
Yeah, and that's important because I'm going to talk to you about that a little bit later. All right, Sean?
My name is Sean Dobbins, and I play the drums. Born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Now I reside in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Most of my influences, oddly enough, are not drummers. They're bass players and a lot of saxophone players. Joe Henderson, John Coltrane, just to name a couple. Just love the music.
Go ahead, Josef.
My name is Josef Deas, and I come from a military family, so I was actually born outside of the country in Mannheim, Germany, but came back to the States with my mother and my two sisters in that was 1986, and I've lived in Michigan ever since. That's where my mom's side of the family is. I travel occasionally down south to see my dad's side of the family, but pretty much just been in the Detroit area, studied under Vincent York. He's the alto saxophonist in the area. He put me into big bands and combos, and we worked for about 3 years. We worked for a few hours every day, just playing tunes in all keys and all sorts of workouts. So that was really my training. And then fortunately when I was 19, right after I got out of high school, I linked up with Vincent Chandler, and he put me into this opportunity. And ever since then I've been just kind of being myself and allowed to be that, which has been really nice. So
it's our pleasure. Definitely.
Nice. My name is Dean Moore, and I'm an alto saxophonist. I grew up in the city of Detroit as well, and my family still resides around here. I actually got my musical training. I started on violin at the age of 4, and I moved to saxophone. And most of my musical training is actually in the church, performing every Sunday there. Playing next to the organist, I got used to all the organ and guitar keys. So aside from that, I've met these guys quite a while ago, and we've just been great friends, just outside of music first of all. And then when we get on the bandstand, everything just comes together. We really feel each other's music, and we interpret each other's music very well. And it's an honor and a privilege to be performing every day with these guys.
Yeah, cool. Well, this question might be addressed maybe more towards the horn players. The tone color of the trombone with the alto sax is very strikingly different than what you might hear from a more conventional tenor and trumpet type of arrangement. And what I wanted to know is, was a combination the result of both of you sharing a similar musical philosophy, or was it the result of a desire to find new ways of writing and expressing this music?
I think it originated in more of a friendship first. It wasn't that I was looking for an alto saxophone player or Dean was looking for a trombone player. I think we just got along. We were both serious about the music, and we wanted to. We were headed in the same direction.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we have similar concepts. The way that we write, the way that we interpret musical lines, and I think our sounds just mesh together very well, and it does give a very unique sound to our group.
And you guys have been together for how long? But since 2000?
Yeah, this group has been together since 2002, actually. Yeah, the summer of 2002. So about 3.5 years now.
Why don't you go ahead and just give us an idea of what of what led up to your first album. I know you talked about it in a written interview, but go ahead and talk about that. Vince? Dean?
In other words, when was it recorded? How did you know it was time to make a recording? And maybe you might even want to speak of some of the accolades that you've gotten. I know WEMU listed it as one of the best albums that came out that particular year. So,
well, I think one of the features of our band is that we play all original compositions, and I think it has to be rare for a group to play all original music and captivate audiences listening to music they've never heard before. I mean, I know one time I went to a Maxwell concert, and the audience basically wasn't even involved into the concert until he sung his hit. So I mean, it's like some of the most major artists in the world, when they perform concerts, they only really get the hearts of the audience when they play songs that the audience is familiar with. As soon as they try to do other songs that they probably feel are more artistic or creative or whatever, the audience is not with them. So I always thought it was very special that we were able to play all original music and captivate audiences. But on a very simplest level, we thought we've always heard that CDs are the new business card. There was a time when you can go to a club and say, I have a band, here's my business card, we would like to play here. Nowadays, you need a CD to have an opportunity to play in a club. So I think on the simplest level, the CD was to open more doors for our band to perform in some of the clubs in Detroit.
I listened to that beautiful song for Kim Wana, and it's a beautiful, pensive ode to his wife. The melody is arranged for two horns and bass in the beginning, before the group comes in. And the song, for me, seemed to cry out for a big band. And what I wanted to know, Vince, is that you've played with a lot of big bands, namely some of the more well-known one would probably be Lincoln Center Orchestra. And then Dean played with the Mingus Dynasty Big Band, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, and then you just mentioned that you had experience playing with Keller.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm sure everyone goes through a big band at one time or the other. So I guess what I'm wondering is, how did the writing, in particular on that piece, how was your writing affected by big band writing, if it is at all?
I think 90, probably more than 90% of the time that I write something is through being inspired by a feeling, not by a thing like
okay.
So I know that my experiences playing in big band has some influence on who I am as a person. Therefore, you could say it influences my writing. But at the time I wrote that tune, I actually have to give Sean credit for the arrangement of it, because it was actually a much simpler arrangement.
Oh.
And I remember talking to him about trying to having different, trying to create different textures within our band. So that's when I decided to come up with a counter melody with the saxophone and have the bass play a bowing line.
On your debut album, speaking of, in memory of, you guys laid out the horn players laid out for that tune, and you let the rhythm section go to town. And Sean, yeah, that's your tune, man. Why don't you tell us about it?
That tune, well, first, that's one of the first tunes that I've ever written. I started writing, I guess we could say late in my career, very recently. And one of the things that I liked about Vincent and Dean's compositions is they had a good balance of musicianship as well as Vince just said, inspiration. So one thing I decided is that when I wrote something, I would make sure that was always about something. I wouldn't just sit down and say, I'm going to write a song today. I always wanted to make sure that I had something going on. And that particular tune, in a short span of time, I lost one grandparent and two uncles, and recently a cousin. And so the song is really just about remembering the people that we've lost, and it was written for those people, but it's really written for everybody who's lost some people,
right.
You know. So.
Well, yeah, and a beautiful thing about is it gives us a chance to hear Josef play. You play absolutely wonderful on that piece. And we're going to take a listen to that one.
What I wanted to know about is, again, I've been focusing a lot on Dean, perhaps because I'm relatively familiar with your playing. Or Vince's playing. People can't see who I'm looking at here. Vince and I went to school together years ago, and I watched him play with the Rodney Whitaker group, and I've admired his playing. I've admired your playing with small bands and some of your writing, But at any rate, so Dean is new to me. When I listened to the minor blues in E-flat, was that yours?
Yes.
Okay, and that was Vince's answer. It's a modal blues, and the melody leads into the solos with a tricky, this is one thing I like, the tricky snake-like repeating pattern, almost like a John Cage-like minimalist type thing. And I know probably that's not where you were coming from with that, but I thought that was so cool, how you guys could hang on and be just right there. But what I was really intrigued about was the way Dean took the last few notes, a little motif that was being played by Dave Cook, who was a pianist on this first album, and without skipping a beat, you basically not just imitated what he did, but you extended his solo, and you transitioned from one solo to another by playing the motif, building it up into small blocks of sound, and then until you kind of had your way with it, and then you departed onto another idea. It was supportive and complimentary, but it took the music forward. So here it is. Do you think that example is an accurate portrayal of your role and contribution to the group?
Well, I definitely, to kind of echo what Josef said earlier in the interview, when I come to improvise on a song, I do, I try to kind of be a vehicle for the music, and I try to just perform like I'm a blank slate and let the music just kind of soak into me. Right. So that is an example of, kind of taking a seed from Dave, from the end of his solo, and just expanding on that, and just expanding, letting it see how far just kind of that idea can go. And, from there are other things in the musical situation that kind of inspire ideas, and, I just tend to use those little seeds and expand from there.
kind of explore further some things that Vince said. You were talking about your compositions, and I would like to know how your compositions have changed and how your more recent ones that you're maybe working on right now might reflect where you guys are at today as a group and as individuals and all the rest of that.
Well, definitely, the new songs that we're working on, with any composition, they start from a source of inspiration. So, you know, depending on what source we're writing from, it might be different for Josef, different for Sean, you know, depending on our life circumstances. Songs kind of come out of that. For example, for myself, you know, I may write a song that it may take me, you know, maybe 2 months to fully complete or longer than that, and then, you know, maybe another song I could finish in 5 minutes. It all depends on the source of inspiration. But definitely the new songs, the new compositions I've been writing are kind of focusing on the strong points of the group. After you perform with musicians for so long, you get a really good sense of their musicianship, the kind of direction that they're you know, able to go in individually. So for myself, that's kind of the way the direction of my songs have gone as far as new compositions.
I've recently been trying to add a few songs to the book. I think my biggest inspiration right now is I think just for the band, I like from the point that we made that CD. We're coming, like Vince said, it was a business card, and we were trying to open some more doors. But right now, I think it's really, the band is really about artistic approach right now.
Sure.
I think that we've established the fact that we're a good band, that we like to play together. And again, this isn't to beat our own chest, but this is just to say that we've got some acceptance.
Okay.
And I think that we realized that, it's okay to be ourselves, and we're accepted for being who we are as a band and as individuals. So now we're just focusing on what's going on with us now, and trying to build on that with our individual writing as well as a band, and how we can continue to better play together and just be better musicians.
Nice.
Well, I just want to say one thing. The next level of my writing is all of my writing years have been from inspiration. Now I will use more technical approaches to my writing. So in the future, you'll hear writing that deals with like time signatures, different keys, and different types of harmonic progressions, and things that are more from an intellectual perspective. It's just something I maybe take my music to another level.
Right. Well, Vince, I'm a horn player, and I already hear your technical level. I mean, you have a profound technical ability on your horn. I know that playing trombone, especially playing it in a jazz setting, is, it's not a simple task. It takes years and years of development. I remember you over at Wayne State. You're a serious student, and this, for our audience. If you ever want to know what it takes to become a serious musician, come to Detroit and talk to Vince Chandler, and he'll tell you all about it, what it takes. The dedication, the seriousness, keeping a straight head, and dedicating yourself to your art. I know that because I saw you. I watched you grow and I watched you develop, at least in the early '90s when you were at Wayne State. And I'm really absolutely happy to know, to see how you've grown and developed and where you're at right now. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's a definite plus for Detroit to have four young cats like you who are developing a sound that still embodies the sound of Detroit, but is really taking it to a different level.
Yeah.
getting close to wrapping this one up, but before I leave, I know Josef is rather new to the area, but I'd like to get maybe a encapsulated idea of how living and experiencing Detroit affects your music, if it does at all.
I'm not from Detroit. I'm from Ann Arbor, but I remember coming to Detroit and listening to the music, and the easiest way I can say it is when I left and I drive back to Ann Arbor, I knew that I would have to come real every time I played in Detroit, Michigan, because of the history of Detroit, and because if you came out of Detroit, you cannot. You have to come as a true artist, and the audience knows. So I'm not from Detroit, but that's one thing that I picked up, and I appreciate about Detroit.
I think I could kind of add on to that from a similar perspective. I've actually been playing on Detroit stages since I was 14, so I'm not that new to the area. But definitely, from the first time that I played here, actually the first solo that I played on a Detroit stage was at the Montreux Detroit Jazz Festival, and that was actually a college group. I was in high school at the time, of course, but I was playing with this college group at Washtenaw Community College in Ann Arbor. It was led by Vincent York, and I didn't really have my playing together at that period in my life. I just learned how to walk bass lines. I had studied classical music, playing bass for about 5 years before that. And I literally, there were a few gentlemen in the audience who were literally yelling for my solo to end. They wanted me to stop playing because the ideas weren't coming together. So it can definitely be a real critical audience
experience
because people know what they want to hear. They know, if you play something familiar, they're going to resonate with that. If you play something hip, they're going to resonate with that. It's a hip audience here, and they're real in tune with what's going on musically because that's what Detroit is all about. We have a scene here.
In this club, especially Bert's Marketplace here at Eastern Market, they certainly will let you know if you're not doing it, man.
One way or another,
they'll let you know. But they'll let you know if you are.
Definitely. I mean, it's not just the band that's going to be playing; it's the whole energy of the whole room.
Right.
And if people aren't resonating with your ideas, it's almost going to limit your ideas further. So from that time point on, I kind of just went back into the shed and just put in the work to develop my playing and get to some sort of level, which is really never-ending task. So.
Well, I can say there's so much I can say about my Detroit experience. It's not just music that influences my music. So I would have to tell you about my childhood, growing up in a household of 7 kids, going to some of the public schools and all of that stuff, but I won't get into that. I can just mention names: Donald Walden, Harold McKinney, Marcus Belgrave, Rodney Whitaker, Ali Jackson, who was Ali Muhammad, Carlos McKinney, Kareem Riggins, Rodney Whitaker, if I didn't already say him. I mean, it's a number of musicians, Ken Cox, Teddy Harris, who because of them, I am who I am, and I got a true musical experience in Detroit.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, how do you top that? Those are some wonderful people that I know I have a soft spot in my heart for too. They're some of the best musicians in town. I think it might be time to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think we're done. And hey guys, we absolutely appreciate you taking the time out to give us this interview.
We appreciate you interviewing us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's keep in
Take
touch.
care, guys.
Take care.
All right, take it easy, man. Well, that was a great interview, great guest. We're really pleased to have Urban Transport as our February guest on Detroit JazzStage. And it was even a greater pleasure of actually doing the interview at Bert's in the Eastern Market.
Yeah, Bert's is a great room, and wonderful audience to play for too. They're a appreciative audience, and like they said in the interview, when they like you, they like you. When they don't, they can be downright mean.
Well,
but
yeah.
that's what's great about a Detroit audience is nobody's holding anything back.
Well, and what else is cool about Bert's is its proximity to a location in Detroit that was referred to at one time as Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. So and it was a cultural mecca for this style of music through the 30s, 40s, and 50s, before it was torn down for urban renewal. And Bert's carries on that tradition. It's still in Eastern Market. It's a cultural mecca, and has great music, and has had great music for a long time. And we're pretty sure we know no doubt that it'll have great music going forward.
Yeah, both Bert and his son Jay Lee Deering are big jazz fans, and they promote the arts. And it's not often that you'll see a group in there that's not of high caliber.
Yeah, no doubt. Anyway, so that's it for this edition of Detroit Jazz Stage. You got anything else to say, Rodney?
Sure, yeah. Well, as I mentioned before a little bit, we're going to be making some major announcements that are guaranteed to make this show, Detroit Jazz Stage, even better. Because of these changes, we're really not able, we can't really say who our March show is yet, and I hate to do that, but we just can't do that. But we're going to, maybe we'll send out a real quick little thing.
Sure.
Yeah. And also, Urban Transport doesn't have a website, so if you are interested in picking up one of their recordings, please contact us at jazzstage@gmail.com. That's right.
That's right, jazzstage@gmail.com.
And I'm there every day.
That's it, well. Anyway.
So thanks for listening. We definitely enjoyed this show. I hope you did too. If you liked what you heard, let us know and leave some comments on the site, either on iTunes itself or at jazzstage.us.
Detroit Jazz Stage is the creation of JazzStage Productions located in Lake Orion, Michigan, and was recorded at Longview Sound, located in Rochester Hills, Michigan. The Detroit Jazz Stage podcast is powered by Liberated Syndication, podcasting made easy. For information on Liberated Syndication, go to jazzstage.us and click on the Liberated Syndication logo. Our theme songs were written by Mark Byerly. For more information, go to jazzstage.us.
Jazz Stage Productions, I'm Dean Sahutsky.
And I'm Rodney Reeves.